My name is Maria Rodriguez, and I will be presenting to you case number CJ 2022 3700, which is the Marshall versus the City of Tulsa. Some of the case details is that the presiding judge of this case was Caroline Wall. This case was filed on December 7th, 2022, and the case number of this case is CJ 2022 3700. Tulsa Animal Welfare confiscated a pit bull named Julian for cruelty by its former owners. The pit bull was then placed in isolation for 2 years before fostering the pit bull to defendant Lauren Poss. Defendant TAW failed to perform any formal testing on the pit bull to determine if it had food, human, or dog aggression during, before, or after the 2 years of isolation. Prior to Poss fostering Julian, a shelter worker assessed Julian and advised that he not be placed with female dogs. No other testing was done. The foster agreement also provided that Poss understood she was not allowed to have others care for her foster animal or animals unless she received approval from the foster coordinator. The foster coordinator did not respond to Poss's attempt to coordinate care for the dog while she was away. Poss reached out to Marshall to pet sit the pit bull named Julian. After a few hours of his arrival, the pit bull entered Marshall's sunroom and began attacking another dog in her care without provocation. The pit bull turned to bite the plaintiff's hand multiple times before latching and refusing to let go. As a result of this attack, the plaintiff suffered multiple comminuted and non-displaced fractures of her third and fourth fingers. The question here is, was Marshall, the pet sitter, the owner of Julian at the time of the dog bite? Here are a list of witnesses throughout the case. Starting with the plaintiff witnesses, we have Sarah Marshall, who is the plaintiff, Lauren Poss, who is the defendant, Daniel Sadal, who is the plaintiff's fiance, Sotheby Shabak, who is the plaintiff's friend, Madeline Hoffman, who is also the plaintiff's friend, Angie Marshall, who is the plaintiff's mom, Brian Church, who is the treating paramedic, Adam Iris, who is also the treating paramedic, Timothy Toole, MD, who is the treating physician, and Lisa Bulgoy, who is the treating registered nurse. On the defendant's witness list is Sarah Marshall, who is the plaintiff, Lauren Poss, who is the defendant, Pete the Riot, who is the senior animal control investigator, Jake Wilson, who is also the senior animal control investigator, Catherine Weston, who is the foster care coordinator, Tina Caruthers, who picked up Julian and transported him to Lauren Poss residence, Ashley Dwyer, Emma Brazelton, and City of Tulsa representative. During the deposition, Catherine Weston, Tulsa Animal Welfare's foster coordinator, testified the following. She was asked, prior to placing Julian with Lauren in February of 2022, had you done an aggression towards people assessment of Julian? She testified a formal one, no. Multiple observations that informed assessing Julian for the possibility of aggression to other people and any people, yes. And he had shown no behaviors that were concerning. During the same deposition, she was asked, so you didn't respond to Lauren's text about where she would place him while she was going out of town, correct? She testified, correct. I did assume that she would refer to the foster agreement or to our conversations about when he went into foster care and know that she needed to receive an answer from me or bring him to the shelter. During her deposition, Lauren Poss, who is also the defendant on this case, testified the following. She was asked, were you given any reports made by any City of Tulsa animal welfare staff or volunteers regarding any observations that they've had of Julian? She testified no. During the same deposition, she was asked, as far as your foster relationship with Julian, were you able to direct the control of his veterinary care, or was that something that was predetermined by the City of Tulsa Animal Welfare? She testified if he needed veterinary care, I had to take him back to the shelter. During her deposition, Sarah Marshall, who is also the plaintiff on this case, was asked to describe what happened, and she testified the following. Simba and Julian were in the sunroom. They came in through the dog door, and she was about to get Simba in his crate, and Julian jumped on him and attacked him out of nowhere. She testified that she kept yelling at Julian to stop, and he wouldn't, and she had no idea what to do. She was asked, was he biting Simba? She testified yes. And she was asked, where was he biting him? She testified that she didn't know, she just knew that he was, and she was worried for Simba. The plaintiff's injury required open reduction and internal fixation and months of rehabilitation. She has permanent loss of motion, sensory, and nerve issues, swelling, and pain resulting in a life care plan of future medical and lost wages of over $1 million. On March 26, 2022, Ms. Marshall was seen at the Warren Clinic Urgent Care, reporting she failed to mention to the St. Francis Hospital staff that at the time of the dog attack she hit her head on the concrete. She noted a knot on the back of her head and was experiencing dizziness and some memory loss. She was examined and found to have a scalp hematoma. On March 28, 2022, Ms. Marshall was examined for post-operative follow-up. X-rays of her right hand were performed and she was seen by Dr. Stromberg. She was also sent to St. Francis Occupational Therapy to be fitted for a custom dorsal blocking splint and was scheduled for initial therapy on April 5, 2022. Ms. Marshall returned to Dr. Stromberg on March 22, 2023 for follow-up. She reported that she was having ongoing pain in the center of her hand, along her middle finger and dorsal central hand, with increased use. Physical therapy was reinitiated and medication was prescribed. Dr. Stromberg also provided his opinions for ongoing and future medical treatment. In his report dated March 22, 2023, Dr. Stromberg indicated that Ms. Marshall had permanent loss of motion in her middle finger, and this is unlikely to change. He also indicated that with her discomfort, this is likely permanent. She may need medication for life. He also noted that there is a possibility she would have episodes of frustration while performing basic daily tasks from the discomfort and functional loss of motion stated. Furthermore, this may cause some emotional distress. Some affirmative defenses on this case are that the defendant denies the remaining allegations within the plaintiff's petition and denies the plaintiff is entitled to the monetary relief requested from the defendant. Also, the defendant affirmatively alleges that her conduct did not cause or contribute to cause the plaintiff's claimed injuries and damages, if any. The plaintiff was harboring the dog Julian, thus the plaintiff is also legally an owner of Julian. Also, the defendant affirmatively alleges that discovery may reveal that the plaintiff's injuries and damages, if any, or the plaintiff's risk in failing to exercise ordinary care. Some arguments made during this case are the following. Tulsa Animal Welfare's argument is that the Tulsa Animal Policy specifically provides that all animals being considered for adoption or rescue placement must receive a preliminary health and behavior evaluation. They also argued that Marshall was the owner of Julian at the time of the bite. Marshall's arguments are that Marshall argues that Tulsa Animal Welfare failed to conduct a formal behavior evaluation of the dog. Tulsa Animal Welfare's foster agreement states that the foster animal is owned by the Tulsa Animal Welfare and can be removed from my care at any time by the Tulsa Animal Welfare. She also argued that she was not the owner of Julian while he was in her care. The defendant's exhibit list consists of some of the following: affidavit of P. DeRiot, Tulsa Animal Welfare Foster Agreement signed by Lauren Pauls, Tulsa Animal Welfare Release and Waiver of Liability signed by Lauren Pauls, Tulsa Animal Welfare Chameleon File, Julian's veterinarian examination report for observation of rabies, Jake Wilson's notes regarding Sarah Marshall, Facebook messages between Lauren Pauls and Catherine Weston, all video of the plaintiff's home, yard, and dogs, text messages between plaintiff Sarah Marshall and Lauren Pauls. The judgment of this case is following. Marshall's harm was too far attenuated to make Marshall a foreseeable plaintiff, therefore the city owed no duty to Marshall. The District Court of Tulsa County granted summary judgment in the favor of the city, finding that Marshall was considered an owner of the dog under 40.S.42.1. The trial court's order granting city's motion for summary judgment and denying Marshall's partial motion for summary judgment is hereby affirmed. The court also found that the city did not owe a duty of care to Marshall. Marshall appealed the decision. Exactly what does 40.S.421 mean? Oklahoma's 40S421 is a strict liability law for dog bites, holding owners responsible for damages when their dog causes injury without provocation, regardless of the owner's intent or prior knowledge of the dog's behavior. The reason for the judgment is that an analysis in Hampton by and through Hampton v. Hammonds, 1987, OK 77743, P2D 1053, sound incorrect when applied to the facts of this case. This case was about a 5.5-year-old child named Jamie, where he was bitten by a neighbor's dog in the face, arms, and torso. He was hospitalized overnight and required multiple stitches. The city relies on Hampton by and through Hampton v. Hammonds to support its argument that Marshall was an owner at the time of the dog bite. In common law negligence claim, the existence of a duty is established when a plaintiff's harm was reasonably foreseeable. Now leading to the appeal decision. The Supreme Court of the State of Oklahoma reviewed the case de novo from the beginning. The appeal was filed on December 11, 2024 with the Honorable Chief Justice John Kane. The court affirmed the lower court's decision, holding that Marshall was indeed an owner under 40S42.1. The court also held that the city did not owe a duty of care to Marshall because of her injury was not foreseeable, as there was no evidence that Julian had showed signs of aggression prior to the incident. This case was a tricky one. It was sad to hear that the injuries caused were severe and it was caused by a pit bull. I feel that they have a pretty bad rep, but personally, I don't think that Marshall was the owner of the pit bull at the time. But after further research, the law states that she was the owner of the pit bull while he was in her possession. I agree with the decision that was made, that the Tulsa Animal Welfare did not owe anything to Marshall, as the pit bull was then placed under her care at the time of the dog bite. After proving that Marshall was in fact the owner of Julian at the time, uh, Tulsa Animal Welfare and Lauren Pauls was not responsible for the damages or the injuries that were sustained. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation on the matter of Marshall versus the City of Tulsa and Lauren Pauls. Of course, if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer them during the discussion. Thank you so much.